There's something unsettling about hotels. Maybe it's the way every room has seen hundreds of strangers before you. Maybe it's the way the walls are too thin, or how the hallways echo long after midnight. These are 3 disturbing true hotel horror stories from real guests. Each one will make you think twice before checking in again. I travel a lot for work, sales mostly, which means I've spent more nights in hotels than in my own bed. But none of them have ever stuck with me quite like the night I stayed in room 217. It was an old hotel in rural Pennsylvania. Not dirty, but outdated. You could tell it hadn't been remodeled since the early 90s. Brown carpet, faded wallpaper, humming fluorescent lights in the hallway. I checked in late, around 11:30 p.m. The front desk clerk, an older man with tired eyes, gave me my key and said, "Try to stay on your side of the hall tonight." I laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. He didn't laugh back. Inside room 217, the air felt thick, musty. There was that heavy silence you only notice when you're alone. I unpacked, showered, and climbed into bed. That's when I heard it. A steady tapping sound from the wall behind my headboard. Tap, tap, tap. At first, I thought it was plumbing, or maybe someone in the next room, but it didn't stop. Every few minutes, tap, pause, tap, tap. By 2 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I called the front desk. The same clerk answered. I told him about the noise and asked if someone was in the next room. He sighed. There shouldn't be. We haven't rented out 219 in years. I froze. Then what's the noise? He hesitated. Don't open your curtains tonight. Just try to sleep. I hung up and sat in bed, heart pounding. Against my better judgment, I got up and peeked through the thin curtains. Outside, across the narrow alley, another window faced mine, black and empty, except for a faint shadow. It looked like someone standing perfectly still, staring straight at me. I backed away from the window, shut the curtains, and left the lights on for the rest of the night. The next morning, I checked out early. Before I left, I asked the clerk, "What's in room 219? He just said, "Nothing. Not anymore." In 2018, I stayed at a mid-range hotel in Nevada for a wedding. The place was surprisingly quiet, maybe too quiet for a Saturday night. My room was on the 3rd floor, right near the end of the hall. It was around 1 a.m. when I heard someone pacing outside my door. Slow, deliberate footsteps, back and forth. I figured it was another guest on the phone, but when I peered through the peephole, I didn't see anyone. A few minutes later, I heard it again, this time closer. Then came a soft knock, not loud, just a gentle tap, tap, tap. I froze. After about 30 seconds, the knock came again. Then a woman's voice.
"Can you help me? Please. I just need to come in for a minute."
Her tone was off. Calm, but wrong. Too steady, too rehearsed. I didn't say a word. After a few minutes, she walked away. I heard her knock on the next door, then the next. About 5 minutes later, everything went silent again. The next morning, I mentioned it to the front desk clerk. Her face went pale. She told me, "Sir, we don't have any female guests on that floor. You were the only one checked in last night." I asked if they had cameras in the hallway. She said they did, but when I returned later that day to ask if they found anything, she said, "There was no one in the footage. We can hear the knocking, but there's no one there." To this day, I can still hear her voice in my head, soft, almost polite.
"Can you help me? Please. I just need to come in for a minute."
Back in 2014, my girlfriend and I took a road trip through Oregon. We were exhausted one night and stopped at a cheap roadside motel just outside Eugene. It was one of those single-story places with doors that open directly to the parking lot. The manager handed us our key, room 12, and told us to ignore room 14 since it was under renovation. The place had that stale, cold smell, like it hadn't been aired out in weeks, but we were too tired to care. We locked up and went straight to bed. Around 3 a.m., something woke me. A sound, faint but distinct, like a doorknob turning. Then came a light scratching from the connecting door that led to the next room. At first, I thought it was the wind, or maybe an animal, but then 3 slow knocks. Thump, thump, thump. I whispered to my girlfriend, "Did you hear that?" She nodded, wide-eyed. We stayed perfectly still. Then we heard whispering. Whispering. Too faint to make out the words, just the rhythm of a man's voice on the other side of the door. I called the front desk, whispering into the phone. The manager said, "There shouldn't be anyone in room 14. That door's been sealed for months." I turned on the light and looked closer at the door. The handle was old, scratched, and slightly bent, like someone had been forcing it open. As we watched, the handle twitched. Just once. Then stopped. We packed up, left our bags behind, and drove off in the middle of the night. Later, out of morbid curiosity, I looked up the motel online. There was an old forum post about it. Apparently, years ago, a man had murdered a couple in room 14. Since then, no one had been able to stay in that room for more than a night. Guests kept reporting scratching sounds and voices through the walls. I never went back for my things. Hotels are supposed to be a place of rest, a temporary home, but sometimes they remember things, and sometimes those things remember you back. Which story scared you the most? Comment below and subscribe for more true horror stories.